extremely concerning for you two.
Absolutely. It's difficult to calm down, it's difficult to do a day job, it's difficult to follow up everything which is happening, and it's also very difficult to know what is true and what is lie out there in the media. So we have to be very, very careful when we read all the different medias and social medias as well.
Now you and your association, of course, will have lots of friends and relatives in all parts of Ukraine. How much contact are you able to have with them? What are they telling you?
So they are very, very worried and very distressed. People all across Ukraine don't know what is going to happen, don't know how the situation will unveil. But what they are all saying that they don't want to be in the war. They don't want to be in the war with Russia. And everyone is really, really concerned. One member of my family is actually from Crimea, and his immediate family is at the moment in Crimea. And although these people don't like to talk about politics, they still are very scared of what is going to happen to them.
Now, how important is it for this interim government in Ukraine to offer protection to Russian minorities who President Putin is very worried about?
Well, I first have to say that there was no threats to Russian-speaking or Russian community in the Ukraine. No one ever said that they going to be in any threat. So, but it is very, very important to make sure that our politicians send this very clear message that all people of Ukraine are equally important and nothing bad is going to happen to them.
But might that be different now? We're seeing these tensions. Is there a risk that there will be divisions along ethnic, linguistic lines?
There might be some divisions because obviously people in Ukraine don't really know what big politics sometimes is about, and of course they will try to seek some protection. But the main thing to say here is that people in Ukraine who live in Ukraine are protected by this interim government, and no one in Ukraine, either you're from West or East, Central or Crimea, should be under any threat, especially under threat from Russia.
What would you want to see the international community do? We know that William Hague is off to Kiev very shortly, but isn't there a limit to what the international community can really do?
Well, I think the first thing everyone has to remember about Budapest Memorandum of 1994.
Which talks about the territorial integrity of Ukraine.
Exactly. And this memorandum was signed by Russia, UK and United States of America. Now, one of the signatory on that memorandum did not fulfill its obligations. They put now Russian troops in Ukraine, and this is really worrying. So international community should remind Russia of their obligations towards Ukraine as well.
The other issue seems to be that it isn't just now Crimea that's talking about greater autonomy or even cessation. There are parts of eastern Ukraine which are making similar noises. What fears do you have then for the territorial integrity of the country?
Well, I think generally, although we have some people who feel that probably it would be better for them to stay with Russia or to be with Russia, but most people of Ukraine are very worried about territorial integrity, and everyone wants Ukraine to be united and one country. Now, we also have to remember there was recently this fact that in Dnipropetrovsk, someone who put up Russian flag on the regional administration was actually a Russian from Moscow, not a Ukrainian Russian or not a Russian living in Ukraine. So I think that this is not acceptable, and all of the Ukrainian people or even Russian people living in Ukraine or speaking on the Russian language want Ukraine to be united and truly independent.
Marta Mulyak from the Association of Ukrainians in Great Britain, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.